Hello everyone, welcome to the very first Empire of Glass Eternal Brews. We are real excited to be getting into the new set and playing around with the new cards. Already there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on. There's a really heavy market focus. I'm a little sad about market spells being back, but by and large, there's just a ton of interesting market cards. There's some really unusual combo cards. Something that we noticed during our legendary breakdown, which will be up either today or tomorrow, will be that is that there's some just very unusual Johnny cards that are a bit more shenanigan-y than usual, sort of really channeling that sort of magic tutoring effect. And one of those cards is Diabolic Machinations, which is going to be the first card that we're brewing around today, and the first card that we're brewing around in the set. So this is Diabolic Edict. This is our own creation, and basically we are trying to set up a very serious kill using Diabolic Machinations, a card which we will read now since it is an unusual legendary. Draw 2 different cards from among the top 3 of your deck, then bottom the rest, amplify, take 1 damage to look at 1 more card. You don't have to pay any extra for the amplify, you just have to pay health. You can pay up to your complete and total health. You can, in fact, take as much damage as is necessary to kill you, so you generally want to amplify for 1 less than that. But nonetheless, this card will basically tutor you for a wild amount, and it will also reduce your health to 0, or reduce your health to 1, or reduce your health to 5, whatever is the most handy. That means you can do some really interesting shenanigans if you want to tutor cards and also play around with health totals, which is exactly what we want to do. So let's get into it. All right. So, Diabolic Machinations. We have a couple of different things that we are trying to do, and the reason that we have a couple of different things is because we want to be immune to stuff like, anything that will basically punish a particular card, we want to be immune to that, and we also want to be able to pick out different answers with Diabolic Machinations if we actually have the ability to do so to win the game. The primary thing that we are absolutely needing to get is Trade Agreement, which is a 3-cost relic that says fast spells can't be fast, and spells that aren't fast can be played as fast, which means that it turns all of the slow spells into fast spells and all of the fast spells into slow spells. This has the nice bonus of messing with your opponent's strategy, making all their fast spells a lot less useful, making it so they can't respond in some of the ways that they might want to respond, but it's mostly here to make our fast spells, or our cards, fast, which in particular we're going to be trying for Diabolic Machinations as a fast spell pretty commonly. Okay, so we have a number of different things that we're going to be doing around this deck, but the main thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be making Diabolic Machinations fast, just so that we can more easily access certain cards and play the card at end of turn to draw the cards, so that we have access to whatever it is that we're drawing on the next turn at fast spell speed. But we also are just going to be playing Diabolic Machinations to grab the following cards. Vicious Rejuvenation. Not a particular surprise. We're going to be reducing our health to 1 very frequently. Sometimes we will pick a number that's a little bit higher if we're worried about, say, a sear or some incidental damage. You want to pick, of course, 1 more if there's a Dichro. But basically, we're going to be trying to reduce our health to the lowest amount possible, and then we're going to be Vicious Rejuvenationing at fast spell speed to swap our health with the enemy player's health. This is often the way to win the game. We have a number of different tools that we can do to basically finish people off. If we go to 1, we can Vara's Favor at fast spell speed, which is always nice. If we have a little bit of extra power available, we can use Pyrotech Explosion, which can't be stopped by Aegis, and we can also wait an entire extra turn to play cards that are a little bit bigger and do a little bit more damage, like an Amplified Pyrotech or a Blow the Dam. We have Condemn at fast spell speed if we don't pick up our Trade Agreement and we just instead choose to Diabolic Machinations and just ride for glory, but that is a possible option. And then we also have another card here which is designed to give us a way out if we don't pick up the Vicious Rejuvenation or can't play it at the cost that it currently costs, which is 8. Fall of House Roa is a very cheap card if you happen to be at very little amounts of health. So by basically setting up the Diabolic Machinations, we can then grab Fall of House Roa, play 1 or 2 of them. You can actually grab 2 of them off of Diabolic Machinations, and then attack with our entire board full of merchants and mages and ramp cards and other small stuff. So there are 2 different ways to stabilize after Machinationsing for a really large amount of damage. And in fact, there are 3, because we have one other way to win the game that involves playing Diabolic Machinations at either slow or fast spell speed, and that is Snapyx Deathstalker. This legendary has lifesteal and regen, and when you amplify a card, it gets +2 strength for each amplify. So it also deals its damage in strength to the enemy player when it regenerates, which means that if you are attacking into an opponent with nothing and you charge up that Amplify and just blow out, you're going to be dealing something along the lines of 48 extra damage with lifesteal because you took a bunch of damage and amplified a bunch of times. That means that you can immediately double your health total from where it was before, meaning that you can, of course, survive any sort of major issues that you're having. And if the card still has its regenerate, it gets to kill the enemy player like just as basically a side gig, which is super, super fun. The final card that we have as a stabilization tool is Blow the Dam. Sometimes you don't want a Vicious Rejuvenation, sometimes you want to amplify for a little bit less. If that's the case, Blow the Dam is a reasonable way to hit people for 10 damage and then gain 10 life, which is a good way to stabilize a little bit off Diabolic Machinations. It's also a big explosion for the Vicious Rejuvenation tier. This is just something as like an extra option to pick things up, and we do have a way of buffing the amount of cards in our market via Zoomic Coercion, which is another one of our cards that we're going to be using to access cards in our market. All right, so that's all of the moving pieces of synergy that win the game. Let's talk about the stuff that makes up sort of the core of the deck and basically makes sure that it survives long enough to do this. So we're focusing pretty heavily on ramp because we want to be doing a lot of ramping and basically trying to pull off this Diabolic Machinations within a couple of turns. If we are playing it at a low amount of health, we don't get to pick up as many cards, which means that we have a lower chance of hitting our combo, even if we have a large number of combo pieces in the deck. So our main focus is defending our health total and making sure that we are ramping up and consistently playing power. We are also trying to reduce the cost of the card at fast spell speed. So first things first, we got Desperate Courier. It plunders, which means that we get extra power, and it also makes cards cost less on the enemy turn, meaning you can play a Diabolic Machinations for 4 or a Vicious Rejuvenations for 6 if you have 2 of these out. Super fun stuff. Apprentice Mage and Trailmaker both give us ramp. Trailmaker in particular gets us a little bit of influence fixing, which is important for the triple shadow on Diabolic Machinations. Our power base is built to generally support this, but we also sometimes splash a little bit of red for Blow the Dam and Pyrotech Explosion, so it's not unreasonable to have a Trailmaker in the deck. We also use Apprentice Mage. We have tried this and Desert Alchemist in the same slots. Currently we're focused on the ramp, but Desert Alchemist also has a place here. But both are basically give us ramp and give us the ability to consistently get to our power. Based on how much aggro you're seeing, you might want to swap some Desert Alchemists in for different cards of this type. Talir's Favored gives us extra cards, which is always nice, and gives us something to sacrifice, which is also pretty important. We want cards and we want the ability to consistently play power, so Talir's Favored is pretty important in that respect. Coretap Maximizer is a Sentinel that gives us ramp if we have relics, which is something that Trade Agreement provides for us. It's a little bit awkward. It might not end up being a core focus of the deck, but I have so far been pretty happy with it. Seems like a reasonable pick up. And then finally we have all of our market cards. We have Aurelian Merchant, 4 of. We have 4 Time Etchings, so 8 different ways right away to grab Trade Agreement. We have Zoomic Coercion, which allows us to sack a unit after blocking to pick a card from our market. Basically trades one of our units for a card in our market and also adds cards to our market for Blow the Dam, which is a nice little bonus. And Condemn, which can pick up an Overloader and nothing else. The only reason to do it is if you have a little bit of red and we want to make a different combo happen. The last Diabolic Machinations combo, this deck has internal synergies everywhere. So if you Condemn for an Overloader or pick up the Overloader via a Zoomic Coercion, then when you Diabolic Machinations, you can amplify and get a bunch of maximum power to immediately play the cards that you are looking for. So this is the other way to activate the Trade Agreement, and it's the other way to activate the combo. If you want to go into like a Stone Scar version of this deck and not play any time at all, then you play 4 Overloaders, or you play Overloaders in your market, and you just try to set that down and trigger things. We like Trade Agreement a little better because fast spell speed is a little bit harder to respond to, but this is something that, like, yeah, it's sort of a dealer's choice, and having access to both of them in our market gives us a backup plan in case the first plan goes awry. And there's plenty of backup plans here because there's a lot of different ways to sort of derail this combo. So we're trying to keep it as derail-proof as possible. All right, all of that market stuff happens. We pick up the cards that we want, then we use Machinations to pick other cards up that we want. Lots and lots of card selection. Our power base is pretty much designed around getting Shadow and Time Influence. We also include Akantha Ascending, which generates tokens for us, creates very scary units that our opponent has to deal with, and is just kind of a decent role player. This card is another one that can be swapped if you need to make it cheaper. Desert Alchemist is a great replacement here, so if you're looking to make a cheaper version of the deck, this is an easy swap. But yeah, the card definitely does synergize pretty well with the Shadow Sigils and all of that other stuff going on, so pretty happy stuff. And of course we have Xenon Silix, Seed of Mystery, and that is basically our power base. In our market, apart from Trade Agreement and Overloader, since we have a lot of market access, we can also grab other things. I'm using Send an Agent to dismantle certain relics or single units that might be interrupting our plan. We have a Norris Roa to stabilize and get extra health for the Diabolic Machinations. And we have 2 Von Skybreak Giant as just a big ambush option to play around with Desperate Courier and get extra cards into our hand. All of that provides us with some pretty interesting stuff. Certainly you can play with those 3 slots in the market as much as you like. You don't need legendaries in there. You can certainly play whatever you're looking for. All right, that's the basics of the deck. We're going to show off some stream highlights and sort of talk a little bit about things as we play. But it's pretty exciting. I'm really enjoying this one, and I'm very glad to it's obviously a little rough since it is first day, but I think that it's performing pretty admirably. So let's go ahead and get to some games, and we'll show off this deck. See you in a moment. The problem may be related to card draw. Alright, we're trying some experiments here. We're going to put a From Beyond into the deck, replacing the Zumic conversions to see if we can get slightly better openers against our opponents. This looks like a pretty strong hand overall, though, so we're definitely going to run it. Got the Snapyx, we got a Vara's Favor, we have Time Etchings, so we can start picking up some fast options pretty quickly. Really just looks pretty good overall. I do need a Shadow, and I'm not currently willing to plunder for it. I think plundering a Kantha doesn't sound like a terrible plan here. Honestly, a Kantha might be the card that we are most willing to cut at this point. I like Desert Alchemist for her. I like a couple of other options. Might be something that we end up doing. Vara's Favor gets us a second Shadow for Xenon Silix, which I think is pretty relevant, so we'll go for that.
Touch of shadow.
So getting Time Etchings out is pretty important as well. We can send an agent at this Okessa's audience, but it's better to make them pay for it and then send the agent afterwards. Playing a time symbol here makes perfect sense, and we don't need to play Time Etchings because we want to get a market. Monolith Guardian is a 1/1 if they have a relic. So we might just swap in a time here for a Send an Agent and wreck the relic. It only costs 1. And it prevents us from taking a lot of damage that we would otherwise be taking.
You'll be good as new.
Gearmaster's a little scarier, but not too far on the scary end. And we're only a turn away from Snapyxes, which should help us defend against the Gearmasters and get us a little bit of health in the process. Are looking for a little bit more Amplify. If we can find some red for Blow the Dam, that'd be especially effective. Sad to lose the Plunderer, but it's not the end of the world. Snapyx number 1 is here. Gains us at least 4 health here and can block the 7/7, which is a big deal. I think we just block the 7/7 with it. Easy way to gain 2 and stabilize. Get some damage done.
You'll be good as new.
From Beyond can be used to discard some stuff. I think that's not an unreasonable idea here.
I beseech you.
We can pitch that Laser Blast, which I'm super happy to do. Swing in for 2. And play Snapyx again. Keeping us nice and stable, nice and healthy. We don't need to actually have Snapyx's regen to win this game, so... Open the Gem Blazer represents another big pile of damage, so we gotta be really careful here. But we got a big pile of damage, so what's not to love?
Focus, child.
Trailmaker gets us our first red. Pretty excited about that. We're gonna hold on to the power here because we need it to play other things. Obviously can't attack here. That's no good. I could do a block, but I don't think it's particularly strong. Amaran Shoveler is going to get them a lot of card advantage, but that means that they're on a pretty slow path to victory, and we can probably find something to kill them before that happens. So block there. If I want to, I can triple block this, and that'll just get rid of everything. I think I'm largely okay, though. Alright, let's see what our next draw is. There's a bunch of available options. Vicious Rejuvenation is a pretty good one. I see myself at 19 right now, so yeah, let's hold tight. The 2/4s can stabilize us some, if that is what we want to do. If they play out their power here to grab something from their market, then we are just golden. 12 and 7 is 19. Okay, so they no longer have anything left. They're going to attack us with a 12 and a 7. That's going to put us to 19. And at that point, we should just win off the Vicious Rejuvenation. No blocks, because we want to go to 2. They have nothing in play, so swap health. And swing. Very fun. This deck doesn't have the most amazing win rate, but every win feels real good. Alright, continuing the experiments, trying new things. We're going to be running at any cost in place of Akantha. Try and trade a little better with the early aggro decks that we're running into. Time Symbol, Seed of Mystery, Shadow Symbol, plus Xenon Silix and Diabolic Machinations. Generally, starting with the Machinations is really strong here, so we're going to give that a shot. I have a Condemn, which is pretty useful if we want to get a red card of some kind. I also have Blow the Dam, which is not useful at all under most circumstances, but probably end up trading that for the trade agreement.
This'll do the trick.
Can Condemn that now. I don't think we trade for anything, though. Okay, trade the Blow the Dam for the trade agreement. And next turn we can set down Seed of Mystery and trade agreement, or set down Aurelian Merchant and grab another big card like Tuvan or Sending Agent.
This'll do the trick.
Tricky. Trailmaker gets us to Machinations pretty easily. Trade agreement is pretty important in general. We need some fire at some point, but not immediately for any reason. If we play Aurelian Merchant, I can trade in, get the Machinations ready. I think I want the trade agreement now. If I get a power, then I'm happy to Machinations on 6. If I don't get a power, then I'm just happy. Darkwater Vines. Regen, whenever any player discards a card, gets +1, and that player mills. So this is going to try to mill us to death, which would be pretty threatening if we didn't already have Vicious Rejuvenation in hand and a bunch of other tools. So we're going to play the Trailmaker.
This'll do the trick.
I can Aurelian Merchant to mess with them a little bit, or to like grab Blow the Dam, but I think we're just going to Treasure Trove at fast spell speed. And play a Time Etchings, most likely for a time. I can't remember if I played my Power for the Turn already. I'm pretty sure that I have not. Okay, so Rejuvenation is not far away. We already have it in hand, so we can do a bunch of damage to ourselves without much difficulty. Block the 2/1, no problem. Twin Spitling plays a Timekeeper, and I believe this game is basically at its end. We play our Shadow Symbol. That puts us to 8. Diabolic Machinations is going to get us... I could wait one more turn. It would be a little safer. I don't think a little safer is important, though. I think we just want to win here. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We don't need to, like, preserve life totals here, but we can if we want to. That seems useful in particular. All of their fast spells are slow, so a lot of the stuff that they might be doing to mess with us, they can't actually do. So let's hit 15.
Knock 'em down.
At any cost is a fast spell, so it'll be slow. Vara's Favor and Fall of House Roa are both very good cards that are going to be really, really handy here. We're going to take the Fall of House Roa. We're probably going to take a second Machinations, but we might just take a Time Sigil. Let's take a Time Sigil, yeah. Start my turn. Play the time. Fall of House Roa. Swing, swing. Vicious Rejuvenation. Playing a unit with 5 or less does not save them here, because they're going to go to 1. But they do get some power here. Fast spell Vicious Rejuvenation is very fun. That is actually something that we have considered running in the deck. I have not accidentally hit that last Amplify Meowkin, but I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. Alright, that's probably the last of those particular decks. So this is Diabolic Edict. We did make some changes, like I said. We swapped in the... At Any Cost as a better stabilization tool for dealing with just smaller stuff. We were finding some issues with Wump and a couple of other like small units that were trying to kill us. Wanted to do something that would actually stabilize us better than making tokens. And I believe we took out the 4-drops to add in extra market cards for Blow the Dam. This is kind of a fun of in the deck. It can probably be replaced with something that just deals like a little bit of straight damage like Pyrotech Explosion. So not an important legendary. You can just go 2 Pyrotech Explosion, and that's a good enough change. I actually have to craft another Pyrotech Explosion in order to make that happen. So we might hold on to the Blow the Dam. I'm certainly enjoying it. But yeah, Couriers, Mages, Maximizers, Favorites, Trailmakers, Merchants, and got our Fall of House Roas, and we're also running From Beyond now as the discard option, which is currently replacing some other things. Just trying to make it a little bit harder for the early decks to get their start. All right, that is the brew for today. So without further ado, thank you so much for watching. We will probably have this up, I think, tomorrow-ish, or rather, it is 1:30 a.m. where I'm recording. But as always, I am Locopojo. I am on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Patreon. If you'd like to support the stream, you can always stop by, clip things, chat, do anything that is just like sort of being good streamer peoples. You can sub for free with Twitch Prime, and you can of course sub to me on YouTube if you are so inclined, or throw some money over on the Patreon. I believe that's all of those things. Thank you so much for watching. Really, like we would not be this many sets in. I believe this is set 10, set 9. This many sets in would not have happened without you all. Really appreciate y'all, and once again, have a lovely time. Thanks for playing. Thanks for watching.